What is up, everybody? How's it going? Ryan here, back with you again with the morning coffee, episode number 33 for April 2nd, 2019. Hopefully, all your guys' weekend was well. We apologize that there was no episode last Thursday. Unfortunately, there just seems to not be a lot of news going on in the gaming world right now, and then all of a sudden, a bunch of news came out right the next day right after. So we kind of have, a good chunk of news to talk about today and to deal with, etc. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome. If you're returning, welcome again. I got some emails requesting that maybe I should just do like a brief little intro every single episode. So it's probably what I'm going to start doing from now on. But this is the morning coffee where we sit down with me, your host, Ryan, and we kind of just talk about gaming news that's been going on. Each episode usually lasts around 20 to 30 minutes or so, maybe a little bit less sometimes, just so that you have a podcast that you can check out and listen to on your commute to work or while you're working out or something. I love podcasting, but sometimes episodes go for 2 to 3 hours, and I think sometimes that's a little hard to stomach through sometimes, even the ones that I really enjoy a lot. So we try to create a bite-sized condensed podcast for all of you guys to enjoy. That being said, we did still stream on Thursday. So if any of you guys are from any of the other various platforms, you should definitely come and check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/Ryan Kubo. If we don't record an episode on Tuesday or Thursday, we still do make content over there, playing games, hanging out, talking, whatever it might be. So sometimes just watching YouTube videos, to be honest. So selfish plug for me there, twitch.tv/Ryan Kubo if you wanted to check out any of that stuff as well. Also, for anyone who might be joining, Spotify and iTunes is probably the best way you can listen to us on the go. There are links below in the episode description for those places to find the podcast. Anyway, guys, let's just jump right into it. We have a handful of articles that have come out in the last few days, some that I found super interesting and insightful. So let us get started with that. So first off, Minecraft update removes mentions of Notch, the game's creator. So if you guys don't know what Minecraft is, or you've been living under a rock, it's a game that pretty much blew up and has been popular for probably the last 10 years. It comes in waves here and there, but it still has a very dedicated fan base and mod community, etc. Open world type of game where you can just create stuff or just survive and create these kind of wacky, zany creations. The creator of it was a man named Notch, who ended up in about 2015 selling the company to Microsoft and cashing out, and kind of been dabbling and working on other things. Now, during the main menu screen of Minecraft, you usually see some mention of made by Notch or the work of Notch, according to this article. And apparently those two things have been removed. The reason being, and I don't really like to get super political on here, but it seems that Notch has been making some very conservative, I guess what the media deems controversial tweets and stuff like that. There's been no reply officially from Minecraft or Microsoft on why these little announcements or these little Easter eggs, I guess you could even say, were even removed from the game, but this seems to be something like that going on. I guess Notch has been tweeting out some random stuff. It doesn't seem that bad in my opinion, but coming from a gaming background and gaming industry background, I could see why people would, I don't know, be offended or not like what he is saying. So kind of sad, but it kind of shows the weight of social media and kind of this weird trend that we're having in gaming now, where and just really in anything where media is always trying to influence and push a certain agenda or stylistic idea that I may or may not agree with. And I don't know, maybe it's because I subscribe to I just want to play a good game. I don't really care if it has X, Y, and Z, or if it meets certain social status quos. I don't care about that. I just like playing video games. So it's definitely interesting to see the game just do this. and for Minecraft to remove this thing. And I'm sure many people know who Notch is anyway, but I guess removing this little Easter egg, because it didn't show up all the time, it was literally at the main menu screen, I guess, is something that they thought or felt was appropriate to do at the time. Moving on, though. Dwarf Fortress creators have very cool plans if they make millions. So if you guys didn't know, Dwarf Fortress was a game that we covered a couple of weeks ago on this podcast. It is pretty much a very hardcore simulation type of game that's been worked on for probably the last 10 plus years. You can actually download the game for free right now from their official website. And they've been going through a phase where it was, for the longest time, it was just through donations. And it was just two brothers working on the game. They recently, about a year ago, they said that unfortunately they would have to make some type of Patreon or something like that so that they could recoup some more money, since their livelihood is in this game, and the donations unfortunately weren't going as planned. They ended up making a Patreon, and unfortunately they said that wouldn't be enough, so they are releasing the game on Steam for everybody to play. Now, keep in mind the game will still be free download off of their website, so no need for that. So if an update does come out, it's not like they are being locked to Steam. But if you do choose to buy it through Steam, it is, I believe, $20 right now is the listing price for it. It could be a little bit lower, but overall, they are making this, releasing it on Steam. I think it's going to run a little bit smoother. It's going to have auto updating and all that good stuff as well. So they did say that they need to cover some expenses for personal reasons, like health reasons and stuff like that, as they get older. I think this is a great way to do it, or whatever. If you want to support them and buy and own the game, that is really, really fun through Steam, which is even nicer since it's just some kind of a centralized platform. You can do so. If you want to, you can donate or use their Patreon to donate to them monthly, or if you want to, just download the game for free, and you don't have to. They did an interview with PC Gamer, though, and they did say there's no reason we get up to a million copies, but if we did, that's at the point where Zach and I would both have like $5 million. And I don't know what that means, he said. He says, is that going to corrupt my morality somehow and turn me into a strange person? Because that seems to be a thing that happens. That's why I'm thinking just try to pitch it away as fast as possible. People expect me to take care of myself. That's what I'm going to do. Make sure that my health is in order. Make sure that the game is in order. And the rest of it, there are a lot of people and animals and other stuff that are in trouble. Kids that don't have school supplies, all kinds of stuff. It's like Brewster's Millions, right? You got to get rid of it, man. And that's how I feel about it. So basically, they just said that, they didn't really know, they didn't really know what to do if they got like a ton of money, right? They said that they would probably just try to get rid of it or donate most of the money and just live on a comfortable salary. I do know that this article is kind of leaving out a couple of things, because in that interview as well, they did state though that most of the money would probably go into a better development of the game. If you guys really haven't seen Dwarf Fortress, it's this game that's basically just like textual nodes and stuff like that, and still really doesn't have a updated UI graphical interface that most games that are that you are used to playing this day and age have. So to be fair, they did say that they would take the money from Steam, take a little bit for themselves, obviously pay themselves, makes sense, but then also continue to upgrade Dwarf Fortress and maybe add some visual or updated type of graphical overhaul to the game. So the reason stating that they did this was because of healthcare. But I just thought it was an interesting article where they, claimed that, they wouldn't want all that money or stuff. They just want enough to have, enough to live, get healthcare, take care of their families, and, in the end, just make a really solid game. Overall, we'll report when Dwarf Fortress is officially out on Steam so that you guys can be notified of when that game is. Definitely, I would say go and check it out on their website. The links to their website are in the episode description. But it's a very good game. I just will say that it is one of those games where it is very complicated and complex. Your hand isn't really being held, and you will have to possibly read on a wiki if you don't want to learn, but a lot of it is just like learning and trial and error and the complexity of it all. So if you like those type of games, then I would definitely recommend to go and check it out. It's a free download, but if you do like it, go throw the developers a couple of a couple bucks. Next up, we have Borderlands 3 teaser trailer has finally been shown, and it got announced at PAX East around 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There is an official trailer for it as well, but the article here we just shows a little teaser of about 1 minute and 30 seconds long. But they did confirm Borderlands is coming out. We've had some leaks since this article came out that claims that it could be exclusively on the Epic Game Store, as well as a September release date. Whether that be true for either of those, we will see. But Borderlands 3 is coming. If you guys don't know what Borderlands 3 is, it is a pretty fun action RPG game, kind of like Diablo 3 or Path of Exile, except that it is a first-person shooter. It kind of reminds me of what Destiny 2 is now, where you drop into instanced zones, except in this one, the whole world is kind of available, and you kind of teleport around, kill things, get weapons to get better things, and it's kind of like chasing a carrot on a stick that's being led by someone else. But overall, I love these type of games. I really love action RPG games, and the last thing that we're going to talk about is kind of another kind of mesh of all the things that I really enjoy into one game. And yeah, overall though, I will say the reason we added this article was they had probably one of the most laughable, worst unveil streams for Borderlands 3, and I feel like if the hype for Borderlands 3 wasn't so high, then it would probably have been ridiculed pretty hardcore by the media, but it wasn't. If you guys didn't see it, they did it all live at PAX East, which obviously caused some technical difficulties. They had a few times where it was very clear where a cameraman should have panned to a secondary camera, which took way too long to do. I would say upwards of 15 seconds, which is excruciatingly long in a live stream. Or they just never switched to it at all and just kept rolling with it. A clear example of it is when they brought on a voice actress who does the voice of, I guess, their Cortana. It's a real person that they animate over. They switched to the camera, and it had a pretty cheap looking OBS overlay of it of static, where she announced Borderlands 3, the actual official trailer, not the teaser that's being shown on the podcast right now. And then there was another, probably I want to say 5 to 6 second pause where a guy then, it just switched to someone's desktop where somebody was using Windows Media Player to play the trailer, which was in horrible FPS, and also still showed the play bar in the bottom, or media play bar, I should say, on the bottom. Overall, it was pretty laughable and pretty funny. Like I said, I would not be surprised if the reason why, or if like someone got fired, but also the reason why the game launch didn't get scrutinized as much as because of Borderlands 3. People have been waiting for quite a while for this game, I believe since 2015. The question comes up, will I personally play it? For me personally, I don't think so. From what we've known from the last couple of Borderlands games, they were a $60 price tag, and in this day and age, I am kind of waiting for pricing. For me, though, Borderlands 1 was a game that I played, and Borderlands 2 I kind of dabbled in for probably less than a couple of hours. I believe I got it free in some type of bundle deal online. But overall, I didn't really care for Borderlands. I know that there's a very hardcore fan base who really, really loves the game, and for some reason, I just wasn't able to get into it. Kind of the art style combined with it being just being type of a rogue, not even a roguelike, but just grinding for stuff in a first-person game like that, where it's like Diablo. For some reason, it just didn't do it for me, and I didn't actually really care for the game at all, which is surprising since I do come from an action RPG background. Overall, do I think it's a good game? Yeah. Do I think at the time it was released, Borderlands 1, I'm saying in 2012, was it a unique game? Definitely, for sure. But I feel like there are other games that have come out that have probably eclipsed it. So overall, I don't think it will be a first day purchase for me personally, but we'll have to see what happens and how the trends go for the rest of the year. We'll see some gameplay footage. Maybe that will change my mind. As of initially, though, I do not plan to purchase the game at all. Next up, Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2 are now available through GOG.com. So, Blizzard's real time strategy classics available digitally and DRM free. If you guys don't know what GOG.com is, it's a pretty cool website where you can purchase games, usually at a little bit cheaper than usual, as well as they are DRM free. They do have random sales like that, and they do link to Steam as well, which is super nice if you ever need the actual keys. So they announced a couple weeks ago, and I believe we talked about this as well, that Diablo 1 was on GOG for about $9.99 here. But today, or a couple days ago, they've announced that Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2 are available on GOG. You can buy Warcraft 1 and 2 for $14.99, or you can buy Warcraft 1 for $4.99 and Warcraft 2 for $9.99. So keep in mind the bundle doesn't actually give you any type of discount. It just gives you both games. It does have cloud saving, which is super nice. It has multiplayer still, which you do need to reconfigure your ports like you did on the original Warcraft 1 and 2. And it does have the single player campaign. I did buy Warcraft 2, never liked Warcraft 1. I believe the AI was a little too difficult in Warcraft 1 and it was super hard to play. But Warcraft 2 was pretty much the pinnacle of my childhood. Played a ton of it with friends who came over to my house, or I would go to their house. I believe at the time I was the only kid in my neighborhood who had Warcraft 2, and it just holds a very good memories to me. The music for me is super iconic for Warcraft, and whenever I think of Warcraft 2 or the World of Warcraft or any type of Warcraft IP, I just remember the orc theme for Warcraft 2. So I did dabble in it for about an hour. It runs great on modern systems. Graphically, it's not that great. It's not a remastered. It's literally just a port that runs very well on Windows 10 computers and Windows 7 and Windows 8 computers. But overall, it was super fun to play. I had got a ton of nostalgia for it. I definitely think it's worth the $9.99. There is multiplayer as well, so you can play against your friends if you do choose so, and stuff like that. So overall, I thought it was pretty fun. I would highly recommend getting it or whatever. So, yeah. I think that this is kind of also interesting because it's probably ramping up to what is going to be Warcraft 3 Reforged, which is Blizzard's new remastered game that we talked about over in November when it was announced at BlizzCon. If you guys don't remember, Warcraft 3 Reforged is Warcraft 3 Remastered, but they are calling it Reforged because they are actually going to be implementing balance and patch note changes to the game itself, because players at the time of Warcraft 3, back when it originally came out, believed that the game could still use some work and still use some updates. So seeing Warcraft 1 and 2 coming out on this platform through GOG is pretty interesting. They apparently worked with Blizzard to get it working and stuff like that, obviously. So go check it out. Go buy it. I definitely think it's worth it for even the $15 if you want both versions. I'm just not a big fan of Warcraft 1. I never really played it that much. And Warcraft 2 was really my childhood when it originally came out or whatever in 96 or 95 or something. So it really was my childhood. Definitely a great game. And yeah, go check it out. Next up, article, kind of a little lighthearted, but Shirley Curie, the Skyrim grandma, is apparently going to become an NPC in the next Elder Scrolls game. If you don't know who Shirley Curie is, she is a YouTuber that is also a grandmother and, mom, obviously, and she is pretty into the Elder Scrolls. She has a YouTube channel with a lot of subscribers. I'm not really sure what you could say a lot is, but she pretty much only plays Skyrim on her YouTube channel. Last year, we talked about a petition where 50,000 people signed it asking for her to be added as an NPC in the next Elder Scrolls game to be immortalized in the game. And it seems like they have done it. From her official Twitter account, she said, well, since they made the announcement today about me as a character in the next Elder Scrolls game, I can show my favorite thing I brought away with me. And it's her just chatting and, talking casually to Todd Howard, one of the big wigs at Bethesda Games. So I thought this was kind of cool or whatever. She uploaded her 83rd entry in her Skyrim Special Edition series. apparently last night. And yeah, it's very interesting. So she just walks around and kind of role plays and kind of hangs out and talks and stuff like that. Elder Scrolls 6 is apparently being worked on right now, and apparently will eventually come out. There is really no timeline, from what I understand, of when the game is coming out, but it's been worked on in the background for quite some time now. So overall, congrats to her. Pretty cool. I hope that she gets to check out herself in NPC form, and we hope that Bethesda can kind of outdo itself from kind of the failings it had with Fallout 76. So yeah. Lastly, this is an article that we were going to talk about a long time ago, but we never got any updates for it. But we did talk about this when it initially broke news. We got an update about it, and we've been following this article for pretty much since the first episode of The Morning Coffee. But if you didn't know, the Call of Duty swatter is going to serve 20 years in prison. So if you guys haven't heard about this article, it was basically something that happened in 2017 where a man named Tyler Barris made a fake 911 call to a man in Wichita, Kansas. He claimed that he was inside the house with a gun and he was going to shoot up his whole family or something along those lines. When police got there, apparently the Wichita man was very confused and distraught and very confusing. And long story short, or whatever, he told the dispatcher that he murdered his father and was holding the rest of his family hostage. A SWAT team showed up at the address provided by him, which was actually the residence of 28-year-old Andrew Finch. The officer involved in the fatal shooting wasn't criminally charged, though Finch's family has sued the city over the incident. We're not really sure. There is not much more given to this article. From what I understand, though, apparently the cop fatally shot and killed 28-year-old Andrew Finch for not cooperating with him, and because of the call, which they believed at the time was a real 911 call, they thought that he had already injured people and was going to injure more people. It ended up starting because Tyler Barris had a $1.50 bet between Andrew Finch and himself, where they were like 1v1ing each other and caught, and that's what ended up happening. Shortly after that, he pled guilty to 51 total charges late last year, stemming from numerous false reports he made to emergency services. He was also found to have placed a bomb threat to the Dallas Convention Center, a Florida high school, and the federal FCC building during the agency's vote to repeal net neutrality. So he did definitely do more than just that one incident, but he will be serving 20 years in prison. If you guys didn't know, and it's not something that I want to touch upon too much, but I have had a few friends in the industry actually be swatted, and it was actually confirmed later on that it was by Tyler Barris himself. So this did impact a lot of people, including probably some content creators that you do or don't know, whether it regards to on YouTube or on Twitch. So it's good that he's locked up behind bars. This does set a precedence for people who swat as well. So kind of crazy. Last article that I kind of wanted to talk about on a more lighthearted note as well is a game called Risk of Rain 2 that I've been really enjoying, and it's a game that I definitely will be checking out and be playing a lot more in the future as well. One of the things I like to do is just kind of check out or try out new games from time to time here and kind of report back to you on this podcast of what I've really thought about. If you guys don't know, Risk of Rain 1 was a Kickstarter game that was completely funded. It was a 2D side scroller, and it was a shooter, and it was a roguelike type of game. If you guys don't know what roguelike type of games are, they're kind of confusing nowadays because you're going to look at it and just say it's a BR, but it's not because they're single player. But basically, they're usually very single player type of games, or PvE type of games, I should say, where you jump in, you have a character. It usually starts off very, very weak. And through progression of killing things as well as obtaining loot boxes, you end up leveling up this character as well. Now, the thing is, the character, it's usually on some type of endless mode where you just keep playing over and over and over again. Now, when you die, your character does lose all of its stuff. So it will lose all of his items, all of his leveling, etc. And you have to start over with a new game and start right from scratch as well. So the games are pretty fun. That is essentially what a roguelike type of game is. You can think of it kind of as Slay the Spire if you've ever played that card game as well, right? You start off with a very small deck where your character or hero is very weak. You add new cards to the deck when the deck fails or you lose a game, though. You end up having to start all over again. Well, that's what Risk of Rain was. Kind of out of nowhere this past week, Risk of Rain 2 came out, which kind of fully changed how the game is entirely and has gone very, very popular on Twitch, etc. Risk of Rain 1, like I said, was a 2D side scroller with pixelated graphics, like pixel sprite art, but they have released Risk of Rain 2, which is now a third-person shooter in a 3D environment with really the same concepts and stuff as Risk of Rain 1, but it has definitely become way more popular. Overall, I purchased it. It is currently $20 on Steam. Unfortunately, I missed out on a sale, and most likely you guys are too, unless they release the sale, soon. But they did have a sale briefly where if you bought the game for $20, you got 2 copies of the game, one to give to your friend, because this game is also co-op, which I find very interesting. It is up to 4-player or co-op, or you can play single player. I have played it for about 60 minutes, which, spoiler, was my first run ever. I played it off stream on my own just to try out the game because I purchased it late last night. And I said, I'm just going to play a run and see how it ended up going. Ended up going about 68 minutes or 60 to 68 minutes or so. So very, very fun, addictive game. You just play the game and you unlock things. So somebody, some of the comments are, why is it $20? First of all, it's well worth it for $20. Just everything about it I have enjoyed so far. You're also looking at least so far, they're saying that there's not going to be any type of microtransactions. So for $20, you're just going to get the game. It isn't currently in early access, but it reminds me of a game where it doesn't feel like it's in early access, right? If you guys ever played Slay the Spire, and I feel like I'm going to make a lot of references to Slay the Spire as well because of just how good that game was in its early access and how it did early access right, in my opinion. But basically, early access, like, it was done right, I feel like. Slay the Spire didn't feel like it was an early access at all, and they kept pushing out consistently every week, sometimes 2 weeks if the developers needed a break, an update that added more mobs, more creatures, more cards, etc. That's kind of what Risk of Rain 2 is doing. Right off the bat, it doesn't feel like a early access game. The game already feels smooth and polished and stuff. The way the character moves and shoots and dodges and the graphics and animations that are all on screen seem super, super, super fun. And I really enjoy that so far within the game. I've really, really enjoyed that. So far, I've really enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed the movement speed with the game and just how the character moves and like how the character like flows and kind of able to do like a jumping around type of movement and stuff like that. Combat wise, I find really fun and just being able to pick up passives. A typical game, you drop into the level. There is a bar in the top right corner that starts off as easy, and as time progresses, that bar will slowly go to medium, to hard, to very hard, to insane, and then it just goes to these weird titles like I see you, I got you, and then eventually the hardest difficulty, which is ha 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 ha, which obviously spawns more elites and stuff like that. Mobs are continually spawning around you, and every time you kill a mob, or for every second or so you stay alive, you get a gold. There are loot chests and stuff scattered around the levels, and you purchase one with the money that you get from in-game. What you're trying to look for is every level has a randomized teleporter somewhere hidden on the stage, and once you get to the teleporter and activate it, you can't open up any loot chests, so make sure that you have opened your loot chest and gotten a lot more of the passive skills and stuff like that, which is super convenient and nice to probably get. From there, you kill a boss, which is very akin to, I don't know, a boss in Destiny or Anthem. Very big, very gruesome. He will spawn more minions. You kill it. You then can go around and loot and reap your rewards. From there, you are transported to the next level once you say that you want to. Once you transportate, you lose all of your money, but you obviously get to keep your passives and levels, and the difficulty ramps up a little bit from there. So overall, the game is super, super fun. I've really enjoyed it for even just the 20, 25, 60 minutes technically, I guess, of time that I spent playing on it. I think what's even cooler about the game is that it does play in single player, like I said, which is pretty fun, but it also plays at up to 4-player co-op as well. So you're able to play with your friends and enjoy that. I feel like co-op might be a little bit difficult, but keep in mind that mobs do scale in co-op, so you kind of need everyone to pull their weight. But also, loot is not personal loot, it is group loot, which means that if you were to buy something and it falls on the ground, your friend can come by and yoink it and run by and stuff like that as well. So keep that in mind, that can happen for sure. But overall, it's really fun. That being said, I will say that right after the recording of this podcast, we will be playing Risk of Rain 2 over on my Twitch channel. So once again, twitch.tv/Ryan Kubo if you ever want to check out that type of stuff or to interact with me there as well. But yeah, so we're going to try it out and play a little bit more solo, possibly get a friend who I convinced to get the game to jump on as well if he is able to get on in time. But yeah, guys, that is going to be it. Risk of Rain 2, I will say highly recommend getting it. For $20, you're getting a game that doesn't feel like it's in early access, that is still being developed and still having things to be added to, which feels like an action RPG or a Destiny or Anthem type of shooter, as well as just co-op, which is great. So 10 out of 10 would buy again. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this episode of The Morning Coffee, though. Thanks so much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it. As always, you can check us out on audio on Spotify or iTunes. Those links are in the episode description below. Like I said, we already mentioned it, but you can also check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Ryan Kubo, or you can check me out on Twitter and Instagram at Ryan Kubo as well. That's RyanKubo. So thanks, guys, for hanging out. We'll check you guys back on Thursday morning with another episode of The Morning Coffee. Take care, guys. Peace.